Dazzling flowers in white, pink, or yellow. Some blended, some so tiny you might not see them, or some very large and uniquely shaped fill this greenhouse in the backyard of a home in Bowser.
Before moving to Canada, my wife and I we lived in Siberia, and at that time, in that place, it was impossible to grow orchids. But as soon as we moved here, at my first birthday, my daughter, she presented me as a gift orchid, and that was the start.
That gift of a single orchid 8 years ago has blossomed into an enthusiastic collection of plants.
Orchids, they are very diverse. And for any hobbyist, diversity of his collection, that's the big thing, at least for me. And I like to collect. For me, it's important part as well, because collection, perhaps it can be treated as a mild form of hoarding, but it's innocent, and I enjoy it. There were lots of interesting things in history of orchids. At the beginning in England, for example, it was a ban for women to attend orchid show, because at that time it was considered that their orchid flowers, they're so sensual, so related to sexes, that it was inappropriate for women to attend that show.
Alexey estimates he now has about 500 different varieties of orchids and perhaps as many as 800 plants thriving in pots, attached to pieces of wood or in wire cages suspended on hooks throughout his personal greenhouse.
The biggest part of this hobby, it's a challenge, because to receive orchids from somewhere abroad, from Himalaya or Australia or Africa, you need to spend some time on it, and then you need to find appropriate information, how to grow, how to bloom them. That's the challenge.
Orchids are one of the largest families of flowering plants, with about 27,000 accepted species found all over the world. And there are about 100,000 hybrids that have been developed by cultivars like Alexey.
And that, for example, that plant, it was a hybrid which I made. It was never done before. I used two different Masdevallias from South America, and I made this hybrid, and it has its own name. It's a Siberian garden gnome, because it's a very small, and it resembles a little bit of gnome. At the beginning of my involvement into this hobby, we made mutual agreement with my wife that my collection never go above 300 orchids. Perhaps she still believes in that.
As an orchid enthusiast, Alexey is not alone. He is a member of the Central Vancouver Island Orchid Society. Members gather on a regular basis to show off their latest blooms and exchange information. They also host an annual show and sale, and their achievements are judged by the American Orchid Society.
For example, my last reward was for that miniature orchid. It grows in Papua New Guinea, and when it was awarded, it was totally in beautiful white flowers, and for now it's my favorite, and that is why I named it to favor one of my grandsons, Dali.
Orchids are very widespread, and these little beauties even grow here in the wild on Vancouver Island. In Bowser, I'm Annette Lucas.